Okay, so now we are going to be going over different types of transformations. A transformation is a change in the location, size, or orientation of a figure. So you'll be given a shape or a figure, and a transformation will either change where it is located on a coordinate plane, the size of the figure, or the orientation. So if it turns, rotates, or flips. Okay. There are four different types of transformations. You have a translation, a dilation, a reflection, and rotation. But before we get started with that, today we're going to learn about translations, but we're also going to learn how to identify an original image and the new image. So, a pre-image is the original figure, and an image is the result of a transformation. So, your pre-image is the original, and your image is the new. There is a way that we can identify what our original and new images are. The way we identify the pre-image and the image is by using prime notation. Prime notation is used to identify image points. So to identify your new figure. So the image point of A is A prime. So you'll see an apostrophe, and that means B prime, C prime. Anytime you have the apostrophe, anytime you have the prime notation, that means that is the new image. That is the image. If it does not have the apostrophe or the prime notation, that means it is the pre-image or the original figure. So if you take a look at this triangle, we have triangle ABC, and let's say we just slid it over. So now the new image would be A prime, B prime, and C prime. Okay. So an example, you have Bumblebee to a Camaro. The Bumblebee is the original image, so that would be A. When it transforms into a car, it is A prime. Okay. You have O'Shea Jackson and O'Shea Jackson Jr. Well, which one came first? Ice Cube came first. Ice Cube would be A. His son would be A prime. Okay. So now let's take a look into translation. So we learned how to identify the image and pre-image. So now we're going to go into our first transformation, which is a translation. A translation is a transformation that either moves or slides every point of a figure the same distance in the same direction. Okay, so what we're doing, we are sliding our images. Okay, sliding one image to the next. So that means it remains congruent. So congruent means same shape, same size. It keeps its orientation as well because it does not rotate, it does not flip. All it does is slide to a new location. So, for example, you have triangle ABC, and then you have triangle A prime, B prime, C prime. So it went from this first location and it slid to its new location. That's a transformation. That's a translation, which is a type of transformation. And we're going to get back to that in just a second. So there are ways to identify the different types of transformations. With translations, our algebraic rule. So there's a way to mathematically show what we are doing. So your algebraic rule, you are either adding or subtracting. Okay, so our algebraic rule, this is called arrow notation. Okay, so I'm either adding or subtracting in order to move and slide my pre-image. Okay, so when I'm dealing with the x coordinate, if I move to the right, that means I am adding. If I am subtracting, I move to the left. So if the image moves to the right, you're adding to your x value. If the image moves to the left, you're subtracting from your x value in your algebraic rule. For your y coordinate, if you are adding, you are going up. For if you are subtracting, you are going down. Okay? So right and left affect the x coordinate, and up and down affect the y coordinate. So let's take a look at our first example. It says that triangle A prime, B prime, C prime is the image of triangle ABC. So that means A prime, B prime, C prime is the new figure, and triangle ABC is the original figure. It is transformed after a translation of 3 units to the right and 5 units down. So if I go 3 units to the right and then 5 units down, so what you do to one point, you have to do to all of the points. So we're going to use C to help us count, but it's going to move the whole image. So we have, we're going to translate this 3 units right. So we're going to move, if it lets us, so we're going 1, 2, 3 units right, and then we're going to go 5 units down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You notice once we have that translation, we end up in a new spot. So now we're going to write our coordinates for A prime, B prime, C prime. So A prime is now at -1 and 1. -1, -1. B prime's new location is at -1, -4. C prime's location is at 2, -2. Okay, so we have the new location of triangle A prime, B prime, C prime. Now, if I wrote my rule, my algebraic rule, I have x comma y, then an arrow. That's arrow notation. We're going to use that because that pretty much tells us our original image transforms, and then what's inside of this parentheses tells us what type of transformation it is. Since we're adding and subtracting, it is a translation. So my x value went 3 units to the right. So if I'm going to the right, I am adding. So x plus 3. My y value, I went 5 units down. Since I'm going down, that's subtracting. So y minus 5. This helps us get our new coordinate pairs as well, because I can substitute in my original coordinate pairs and do the math. So let's look at A and A prime. So A, the x value was originally -4. So you have -4 plus 3, okay, comma 4 minus 5. That'll give you your new coordinate pair. Well, -4 plus 3 gives us -1, and 4 minus 5 gives us -1, which is how we get A prime. Let's take a look at our next example. It says graph a pentagon A prime, B prime, C prime, D prime after a translation of 4 units right and 5 units down. So first we're going to write our algebraic rule that's going to help us out. So I have x comma y translates into, so my x value, if I'm going to the right, I am adding 4, okay? And then y minus 5, because I'm going down. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do this for every point so that I can draw my new pentagon. So I'm going to start with C just so you can see it. So I'm going to go 4 units to the right. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. And 5 units down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I make a point. I label C prime. And then I do that for every one. So I go 4 to the right and 5 down. I have plotted all of my points by following that rule for each point. I am going to connect the dots, and I have my new image, and my new image is also labeled. Okay. Last but not least, we have the vertices of triangle ABC. R, A is 2 comma 5, B is 4, negative 3, and C is negative 3, 1. What are the vertices after following the translation? X minus 5 and y plus 2. So what I am going to do, I am going to take my original coordinate points and I am going to substitute them in. Well, my x value for A is 2, so I'm going to do 2 minus 5 and then 5 plus 2. And that gives me my new coordinate pair, which is negative 3 and 7. Okay, next I'm going to do the same thing. 4 minus 5 and negative 3 plus 2. So 4 minus 5 gives us negative 1, and negative 3 plus 2 gives us negative 1. Then I take the last one, which is negative 3 minus 5 and 1 plus 2, which gives us negative 8 and 3. So now you're going to go ahead and complete your assignment. So where it says words, you're going to tell me how many times you went to the right or to the left. And for the algebraic rule, you are going to write your algebraic rule. So for instance, here on this example, my algebraic rule was x minus 5, y plus 2. So that means I went 5 units left and 2 units up. So for number 1, the first thing I would do is identify my image and my pre-image. Well, my pre-image is the one that does not have the prime notation. So O stands for original and N stands for new. And so I'm going from the original to the new. And so I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. I end up going 4 units left. 4 units left. My Y value stays the same. We do not shift the image up or down. So when I write my rule, my Y value will remain the same. So it's going to be X minus 4, comma, Y. Okay, so this is what you're doing for the rest of your assignment. Make sure you go ahead and complete that.